Did it at the beginning, but
Hey guys,
hi, Jean Pierre. Hi.
can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, wait, let me. Okay, pin you.
How you guys doing?
Good, good. How you guys?
Good.
Let me,
Great.
one second, let me. A lot of people joining. I think we have 30 now. Okay, let me see.
Wow.
Um, okay, now we're both we're both on the same screen.
No worries, no worries.
Where are you now? Oh my gosh, is that your home? It's amazing.
This is my home, yeah. I'm in South Africa.
Oh, nice.
Oh,
In South
when did you
Africa,
move
yeah, it's a
there?
bit chilly. I've been here for 4 years. I was born in South Africa, but I've been here for the past 4 years. I was in a few other countries beforehand, just cruising around, but been able to be back home for a while now, so it's been really cool.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Is
You guys
it?
are LA, right?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
NLA.
Mhm.
Yeah. Is it easy to
Cool.
travel from South Africa?
Um, Not always, not always. Um, but I mean, I live pretty close to the airport. I'm about an hour from the airport. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of traveling with this job, which I'm sure you're all aware of, and it's often just really nice to be able to come back somewhere peaceful. You know, I live like just in a very quiet, small little village on the coastline. And it's just really important to be able to have like solid restful kind of space in between jobs, and sometimes it means I have to take a bit of a longer flight, but yeah, it's definitely become worth it over time. Yeah.
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 Amazing. So we'll just wait
Yeah.
a few minutes for everyone to join. Everyone join really early. That's
No worries. No worries. No, dude, thank you so much for getting me involved. It's cool to be part of something like this.
Yeah, I'm glad that I don't remember how I found you. I think Echo, I think maybe she credited everyone, the Four Seasons person.
Yes.
So that's how I found you.
Yeah. Yeah, Echo's cool.
It's awesome.
And do you shoot yourself?
Yeah, mostly Arturo. Sometimes I would join him if there's talent involved. If it's just architecture, then
Mm.
he usually does it. But if there's models involved, I help a bit more with the directing.
Yeah, we have a small team. Yeah.
Cool. Cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
what and Shiftercom, how did this come about?
Oh no, because we share behind the scenes of photographer. Just can randomly share behind the scenes pictures of photographers and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
A community.
Yeah,
We
because
we don't we do conferences too.
yeah, especially for our
Okay.
niche, it's so specific, but there's like a small
Mm.
but mighty number of us, so we're all in this kind of shifter hub together, and we're all specialized. So it's great to meet
Okay.
people around the world who do exactly the same thing and have the same
Yes.
work clients and everything.
But the main the main reason we wanted to bring you is of course because we like your work, but uh, s- some of our community members they most of them they do architecture photography, but I feel some of them they don't we don't know much about commercial filmmaking, right? And but it can be related, and it's cool to hear
100%.
experienced people like you know.
Yeah, yeah, totally, dude. No, fully hear that. No,
How do you
fully
get
hear
start?
that.
How do you get started with this?
How did I get started with this? Um, sure. I mean, I started in film pretty young. But I mean, it wasn't necessarily. I wasn't like dedicated to the idea of like being a DP or director or a photographer or whatever it was. I was actually just like I was like interested in the like the form of image making, you know, whether it was drawing, painting. Those are like a lot more of like the earlier things that I was like very interested in, and kind of wanted to find when I was younger, just like a space that I could like fit into with that, because like the general schooling system didn't really like offer that to me at that point in time. I grew up in France, and I had a bit of school. My schooling was there, um, but yeah, I kind of just went from like, just from like drawing and painting stuff and all this type of jam. And then like friends were like, oh, dude, you like, there's like camera vibe. We're shooting a little bit like some film photography. And then just like kind of like started picking up a bit of video, but was kind of interested in like the whole other side of filmmaking. You know, like I was more interested in like lighting and post production and sound design. Like I love the musical things, and I did a lot of like work in those spaces before even actually getting my first like commercial job. You know. And then kind of like through those avenues, kind of discovered the role of the DP and the camera, and got really interested in it, and then started assisting a few people and moved through it that way. But yeah, to be honest, originally it was more like script writing and sound engineering and gaffering. Like actually, like I was really interested in the lighting department originally. I just thought it was very cool, like the manipulation of light and the colors, and it was quite like a hands-on-y kind of vibe, which I really enjoyed. Um, but yeah, just slowly kind of then evolved into the camera work. It happened pretty quick, like after, after I think like my first like commercial job was like when I was like probably properly like a proper one was like around like 24. Um, but I got in. I started like working around. I dropped out of school when I was 16, and I was working in the film industry in a sense, in a broader scope, like from the age of like 17. I just started like immediately getting into it. I was just like, I was quite obsessed by it. Like my mom's a writer, and yeah, we loved movies growing up. You know, we'd have like our Sunday evening movie night. You know, and she'd just show us such a collection of beautiful films, and I was just quite obsessed by the entire form of it. It was just the entire mix of elements it's just very fascinating. Yeah, it's just such a
Were
cool
there,
journey. I'm sure you all relate. You know.
that's amazing. Were there any specific
Yeah.
movies you watched when you were younger that inspired you to be a filmmaker?
Um. Yeah, I mean, dude, I mean, I'm actually quite I'm a little bit of a nerd at heart, to be honest. Like, I loved films that created worlds, that just like immersed you in their worlds, from like things like Lord of the Rings to Star Wars, to fucking Alien, to any of those films that just had like just entire worlds were created. I thought were very, very fascinating. Um, but yeah, I mean, fuck, dude, there's many films that were inspiring. I guess it was just more it was just more like the 2 hour journey was just always just so amazing, you know. And that was I was just fascinated by that. You know, I didn't at that young age, you know, I didn't actually even know the different departments. You know, I was just like, wow, there's these people that are like just making this thing, and it just felt like this very far unreachable thing. I didn't really ever like see myself as becoming a filmmaker at that age, you know. Yeah, I really just kind of like found it later.
Can you explain to people here what it being a DP entails?
Um, yeah, yeah. I think for me, it's a big part being a translator. You know, like trying to hold space for the director and really just like sink into his language. You know, like I feel like all these films have a language which is has such a strong identity with the director, and at times maybe it doesn't, but like there is a language and it needs to be found, and I think a lot of the time, personally, it's about just like sinking into that translation process and trying to really feel what the director's seeing, what they're feeling, what they're wanting to make people feel. What is the like what is the entire project like asking for, and then really just sinking into all of those elements, you know, just from from the camera language to the lighting is definitely one technical side of it, but it's also just like how are you going to complement the scene and the actors and the script, you know, and how are you going to like do this with like the least amount of noise. um ultimately. But yeah, I think the role is very much a translator, and obviously, it is like you do have a large say in like the visual side of it, and you are directing the photography. You literally are like choosing the imagery that is going to sit on top of this script, and but it's such a it's also like a role that like you have such an amazing team around you. It's like you're really surrounding yourself with your best friends. Like often I've been very fortunate to work with some of my closest friends, and I think there's a lot of credit in that, because you just understand, you speak the same language, and as much as all these projects have different languages, it's about being able to just communicate efficiently with the other people around you, and for all of you to see like a similar vision. It doesn't have to be identical, but it has to be like have the same kind of energy and source. But yeah, just going back to your question, I think the main role of the DP is translating and just really being that support for the director, just someone who's like got their back, and ultimately just trying to really execute the visuals.
Even though you work with a big team, how involved are you, or in general, DOPs, how involved are you in the production? What does it entail?
Like what is like my process nearly in
Yeah.
production? Yeah. Well, I mean, often it starts with the conversation. Often it starts with the conversation with the director. Oh shit! Sorry. Just my phone was just ringing there for a second. I'm just gonna put that on silence. It often starts with a call with the director, obviously, and him kind of just, or him or her just like hitting me up with the ideas that they've got, or this job that's come through, or the vision of the piece, and then ultimately like if like we've connected on it, or it's someone I worked with before, and we're just amped to see what we can do. It's we go through like an entire visual storyboarding process together, like way pre-production, like pre the production process. I use applications like Millernote. Some people use like Figma, or like all these other pieces. I use an app called Millernote. It's like just seems to be like the brain board that works for me. It's on a big screen, and I can throw images and references and GIFs in there, and we can take like the script the directors come up with, and just start like throwing ideas. It's big broad strokes, of things, like not too much into the details, but just like just ideas of the look, the feel, references from other films. Yeah, and that would be us kind of sinking in. That's like the first dance, if you want to call it that. And then obviously like pre-production starts, where like I feel generally involved in most things if I can, just not necessarily just to have like my say, but more just to like understand the scope, and understand where we're going, what locations we're shooting on, what the lighting conditions are going to be like. Yeah, and then also working very closely with like our art directors and departments, and set design, and I love like seeing what's going to be brought to the table, from the color palette to the lighting, yeah, and then we get like to more the techie side, which is just like gear lists, calls with the teams, like what we're going to need, what I think we're going to need before even actually getting to the location. And that's like camera lists, lighting lists, grip lists, how we're going to do all the moves, the type of gear you're going to need to be able to move around in these spaces, but also sometimes simultaneously shoot in multiple locations, at the same time, if there's multiple cameras. But yeah, and then obviously we get to like actual like production time, where there's the tech recce's and yeah, and on those tech recce's, you're going around and you're framing up the film, you're actually like going frame by frame, and yeah, I use an app called like Cadrage, which like a lot of people use. It's like a viewfinder app, and just allows you to kind of like start framing up. You put in your lens, the camera you're shooting on, your specs, all that type of jazz. and then start framing up the film, and that's what you're going to see now. So it's a great way of like just like getting into sync of like what this film's going to look like, how movement's going to look in it, how the actor's going to move through the space. It's like your initial blocking in a way, yeah, and then you generally have like a few down days or whatever beforehand where then you're driving off, like checking out the lights, checking out the gear, doing the gear checks, setting out lenses, seeing what kind of filtration you want to use, or what's actually complementing the language you're wanting to tell, the story you want to tell, and yeah, and you get down to shoot day, yeah, and I mean, like, I feel like all of those elements, as a DP, you are involved in, anything that concerns the visuals, from the from literally like the design to the lighting to the choice of location to like, I mean, it also depends on the directors, like that's also a very big part. Some directors have like a very clear way of the way they want to work, and a lot of these things are just like, there's like it's their standard, their way they need to get it done, and sometimes they actually prefer not to have too much like input, so, and once again, that's the whole side of like adapting to that director's language. I think like I think a lot of people see DPing as like you're this person who has the style, but like I actually kind of disagree. I don't necessarily think it's I don't think you have a style. I think like the most, like, if I was just making my own little personal film, with my small team at home, and we're just doing something, yeah, totally, I'll put my flair on it and the way I'm seeing it. But like, ultimately, I'm still looking at the project and being like, what works for this music video, or for this brand, or for my friend's clothing vibe, or you're still looking at that, what works for that, and each one of those projects or directors, or they all need their own thing. I don't want to be like, I'm not going to go and put the style I had for like a Four Seasons project onto like onto a golf job. It's like, or onto a skate film for Vans or whatever. It's just like each one's got its language, and it's about like stepping into that. Like, what am I going to need to like be that person that's in there, and how would that be shot from that person's perspective? Sometimes it needs more grittiness and more line. Maybe I need to be on a skateboard shooting around the 16 mil. Sometimes I need to be like more set back, let the actors talk. It's like, and I think it's like, it's just about being like adaptable, and not so emphasized on like, what is my vision. It's like, it's more like, what is the vision for the piece, and I think there's a lot of power in not being so stuck on that, because a lot of conflict happens on set just from that kind of attitude, from being like just too stuck into the way you think it needs to happen, rather than like what works.
Yeah,
That's a great
exactly.
answer.
Are you part of the client conversation or the post-production at all, or is it that's
Well, yeah, I mean, so I have a little side company with post. So like, I enjoy post. I mean, I came up through there as well, and I think that's like such a valuable, one of the most valuable things I think I actually had coming into DPing, nearly more valuable than lighting. I mean, it's obviously very important to understand lighting, but I think like I find it very, I find it, I don't actually understand sometimes how you, like, if you haven't understood the post-production process, how you can be editing like as a DP, because like, I mean, that's your job. Like, how are these images going to sit together, how are these scenes going to like intercut, how they're going to flow. And it's like, if you don't understand the post-production process, I think it's like, it can be quite hard to foresee that, or for me at least. So I love the post-production. I mean, I love getting involved. Most of the directors I work with, they do get me involved in it. And yeah, just from obviously like from the color grading side, I'll be putting up like boards that I'll send to the color grader of like what kind of world we're wanting this in, and obviously align that with the director as well. But yeah, I mean, I just love being involved in general. It's just like it's an entire orchestra. There's and like it's I think it's important to understand all the elements as much as you can, because I think it just goes so far. You like, all of a sudden, if you understand music as well, you understand tempos, you understand how to create pace in the edits, how do you know how to do that with the camera, and I think that's yeah, I think all of it's all of it's important. So all of it, you should have like, try and have an understanding of it, you know, dive into it. We're so lucky these days, you know. I mean, fuck, it's just like when you think about like film, even like 40, 50 years ago, it's just like people didn't have access to the internet in the way that we do now. You know, there's so many talented people all over the world now, and so many incredible pieces being made, and you can just learn so much from things like even like platforms like this. You know, you look at them, and there's so many places to learn. So I think it's just so valuable to learn as much as you can.
Yeah, exactly. I was wondering, so for
Yeah.
example, the people here that want to get more into the commercial route and they're, you know,
Yeah.
internationally, is there something that you can say, like if they're looking for a DP and they're on someone's website, how can they tell the difference between someone who's a good DP, someone who's not? Like, is there a way you can see from your point of view?
Mm. Well, I mean, those are two questions. So, like you were saying, like how to get into commercials, and then also how would you choose a good DP?
Or sorry,
Those are two.
just the second part. Like, how would they know who would be a good DP for people here, for example, to hire?
Sure. I mean, I think it all depends on your connection. You know, I think like the first thing is like, yeah. I mean, like first thing is like look at their work. Do you connect with their work? Do you like their like language? Do you like the way they've cut things together? But then at the same time, it's like a lot of DP's work that you'll find on their sites. A lot of people, it's just the work that's been cut up. Maybe it's not their actual language. You know, it's hard to. And this is where post-production comes in again, you know, like a lot of the stuff that's actually on my site, I've been heavily involved in the post of it, you know, or I've like made my own cuts of it, you know, just in order to kind of like also just like be able to show what I was seeing, or what the director and I was seeing before like the client got like super involved, you know. I think it's more that realm of like the director's cut, you know, like because often, I mean, I would say for pretty much the past 10 years, maybe only in the last 2 years, have like some films started coming out that where like the main film, even the client's cut, is like epic, you know, like. But I would say like 90% of the journey has been like you're making these films, and you're making beautiful imagery and everything, and then by the time it's gone through all the filters, you know, like and gotten down to the final edit, you're kind of like, was that me who shot that? You're like, oh, you're like, was that even the thing, you know? And yeah, so I mean, in a sense, I'm just trying to say that I think it's like it's really important to create a connection with the DP, that you trust, you like their work, but ultimately you like their energy, their capabilities, you know, because it's the thing is like we're all capable of making imagery, you know, we're all capable of doing these things, and I think it just takes time, experience, and if the person's got that underneath their belt and they've got a great energy, like that's your person, you know. It's like you've also just got to like it depends on the piece, you know. Some people are more talented in certain things, some people are not, you know. And I think to go with that, but I mean, I would say definitely like the fundamentals are just connection with the people around you. You know, I'd rather shoot a way smaller. I'd rather take like I've done this often with like whiskey commercials. Like, we did a piece recently in Scotland, and and it was supposed to be like I think it was supposed to be like a 7 or 8. Oh, sorry, a 1 or 2 day job, and we're jam packing everything in. It was supposed to be tons of stuff, like big team, like the whole jazz. And but I was like, this whole film is just like crying to like be outside and outdoors in like beautiful locations, and like just show like the kind of like earth and rivers and space of Scotland, you know. And so then we were just like with the director, we were just like, dude, why don't we just like we make this a tiny team? Like let's make ourselves like a team of like 4 or 5, you know. And I'll just shoot like on the handheld with like a set of sticks. We get one dude on like gaffering. He'll just have a couple of lights for us when we need. You're the director. We have maybe a producer with us and someone on sound. And we just mission around. We took this commercial. We turned it, rather than doing a 2 day job, we turned it into like a 7 day job. And we just missioned around for 7 days and just like shot for maybe 3-4 hours a day, like 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, and then maybe a couple interior shots in the day or whatever. But we moved slowly, but we moved like with the lights and in the right locations, and we just got gold. You know, it looked amazing, and it was a far more powerful. So it's like, I think there's like, yeah, I think that's like yeah, it's not yeah, it's not always just about like the big teams and big jams, but like what works, I guess that's always the thing, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
Um,
That's so interesting.
yeah, yeah, it was a cool project.
I'm going to share the Four Seasons video that you shot, and then we're gonna
Yes.
through it. So, can you give some context to people here, how it came
Yeah.
about, or the visual, your idea, just
Yes. Yeah, so I mean, firstly, it came from a director called Nathan Cope, and he's yeah, he's become a really good friend, and we do a lot of like adventuring together. Actually, we did a lot of climbing and stuff like that. We actually kind of like early on met kind of through some climbing vibes. Once again, you know, connection first, which is hilarious. Um, but yeah, super talented director Nathan Copen. He's been a legend. Learned a lot from him. And he kind of yeah. Firstly, I like the producer Rob Kent from Kent and Co. They got in touch with me. I was in Spain. I just finished a cycling trip with my partner, and yeah, he reached out and he was just asking if I wanted to get involved with this job. And actually, like Nathan, and he works with some incredible DPs, really talented DPs. And unfortunately, his two like preferred DPs weren't available. One of them was getting a child and was having a baby. Another one was actually just out of the country. And yeah, I just end up being, I know Rob Kent from the production company, and he was just kind of like, dude, you're in Spain, maybe I could put you forward. And he threw me forward, and just because like Nathan and I kind of connected over climbing, he kind of gave me a chance. I mean, I was definitely like not the preferred DP, put it that way. I was like a lot less experienced than the DPs he's worked with, like far less talented. Like they and I think it's just like it was just a bit of a lucky draw in that moment. And he kind of just went. He even said to me, like, he kind of said, it was just a lucky draw, dude. You reached out to me about climbing back in the day, and I was like, why not? Maybe we can do a climbing trip at the end if it doesn't go well, you know. And which is just a testament to the connection thing, you know. It's a testament to the fact like you just need to connect with people first and foremost, you know. Like people are looking for people to relate to, and they want to be working with their friends. No one wants to be working with an asshole. You know, it's like they want to be working with cool people, you know, and like people who like care and people who want to put effort in, you know. And yeah, anyway, he started sharing the boards with me. We started connecting. I mean, and it was hard, dude. I mean, he was just like, we saw things differently in the beginning, you know, and I just me trying to like kind of like sink into the language, you know, because it's like I said, it's not always easy, you know. Um,
can
and
you
uh, and
what you saw things differently? Like, can you explain more about that?
Well, just like I would frame up something, you know, I'd like frame up something on like Kadraj on the app, you know, and just be like, hey, dude, maybe this kind of scene. He's like, nah, too busy. Boom, move on. You know, you can't be like attached, you know, like which is like such an important thing. You can't be like, oh God, he doesn't like my vision, you know. It's like something I can definitely say is like it's far better to like present something even if it's wrong than not present at all.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like I think it's often in the language finding phase with your director or with your team. It's far better to be like suggesting things that feel good to you even if they're wrong, because it's like at least you know it's wrong. You know, like I've often found my way through things by doing them the wrong way. You know, and I think like a lot of people are really scared to like do things the wrong way. You know, but the thing is they I don't know. Like I think with art, like with this art form, there is no wrong way. There's just like different ways, and your job as a DP is to figure out the way that the director wants it done. You know, and along the way, like have a little twist on it or surprise or whatever. But as you find the language, so yeah, there was a lot of that, you know, in the beginning, but it was quite cool. The job, I mean, it was a 1 day job. It was a fucking super tight job. We had to do everything in a day, which was crazy in the beginning. But we had 7 days in Mallorca, so we had like our tech recce day, our prep day. We had a bit of time to pre-light, and then we actually did like have a couple of shots in the evening beforehand. I just kind of like took the camera rogue by myself and just did like a couple of shots with one of the actresses in the evenings, because you never have enough like sunsets and sunrises, you know. I mean, it's just like golden hour speaks worlds to people, you know, and just like shoot when the light's good, you know. So so yeah, that was kind of like how it came about, and then us connecting during the process, and then yeah, and then we got down to shoot day, obviously, and yeah, I mean, there was a few different things. I mean, this is the classic thing, you know. You've got to we had to turn, well, one of the suites that you see in that opening scene, like that wasn't actually finished. That the whole thing was under construction. The hotel wasn't even ready yet for people, so we had to like clear all the construction stuff out. Our art director, set designer Mark Davis, kind of like designed the whole space for us to make it look like epic, you know, and like hung curtains and put up art and brought in wardrobes and or drawers and like a beautiful table, and we're all like involved, you know. We're not a massive team on this job, you know. I think we were like I mean, on the shoot day, we were probably around 30 or 40 people, you know. It wasn't, but the it was literally just like, there's a small little gang of us of like 5 or 10 of us, you know. And yeah, we're just like moving things around, trying to figure out how we're going to make this space work. And then also, you know, you get complications, like for example the bar scene, you know. You have to make things night, you know, so like you also, and the bar just happens to be next to the biggest windows in the whole hotel, you know. So it's like you've got this like 10-meter high ceilings, you know, just windows, and we have to black out this whole world, you know, just to try and make it into a night scene, because bars just look better at night, you know. And yeah, and then also you need to create like adventure outside of the hotel, you know. So then we that kind of like lunch kind of scene, you know. We kind of made that outside in the gardens, and like once again we like set up trees and foliage, and the whole like Mark and Katie, our team, like smashed just the most beautiful like table design and that kind of jam, you know. And but yeah, there was a lot of moving elements. It was a big day. I mean, we started at like 5 in the morning, and we had to get like all the boat shots, like boat to boat shots, you know, and drone stuff.
Let me share let's all watch the video, and then I think,
yeah, I'm just gonna turn on some lights quickly.
okay, let me just play it right now. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Do you guys all see this? My screen? Okay, I'm gonna play.
I saw the sea breathe. An endless rhythm. I saw the light stretch its fingers across the horizon. I saw time slow. I saw laughter ripple. I saw shadows dancing beneath the Majorcan sun. I saw joy in the corners of everything. I saw life unfolding quietly. And as I leave, I see it was all because of you. Thank you.
So good. It's amazing. What kind of oh wait, sorry. No, it didn't pause okay. Can you walk through the kind of the storyboarding at the beginning? Like how did you work on it for this piece?
Well, I mean, the story was pre-made by the director. Yeah, he had this vision of kind of like this whole writing sequence that was going to happen, you know, of the talent. This actress would be like writing this letter to the Four Seasons, you know, about her experience, and during this writing process, we would flash back to the memories of her in the space, you know. Um, and then eventually this letter would be the thing that she would like leave to one of the hotel staff, um, and yeah, and then that would be the experience, you know. And it was just like his whole Nathan has a beautiful way in most of his work of just really concentrating on like the heart, you know, and like what is how are we going to make this piece relate to people, and like what are people looking for in the space, you know, like when you come to a hotel, you're not looking to just like yeah, I don't know, you're not what you're not looking for, it's more you're more looking for like connection and like family time and time to bond and also to just deeply relax, you know, and ultimately the piece needs to hopefully inspire that, you know, hopefully inspire a space where you um yeah, we feel there's like deep relaxation and connection with the family and a good time, you know, and it was quite fun, you know. We're on the beach during the recce, um and Nathan found the shell, you know, on the beach, and he was like, "Dude, we should use the shell. The shell will find the kid will find the shell, and the shell will go on the letter, and then that's you know." It's like, yeah, and it was just like it's such a funny like little touch, you know. But like it's all of those tiny little things, you know, that go so far, you know. Um, yeah, and then I guess like like the boards weren't. I can't remember. I don't think there were actually boards for this one. I think they were like we had like images, you know, that we'd referenced. You know, he sent me a Nathan is very good at just sending like a lot of references. You know, he just sends me tons of references of films. You know, he must have sent me like 50 films that he loves. You know, and just say he's like, I love this from this, and I love this from this, and I love the movement in this, and I love the color in this. You know, um, and as much you don't really see it in that one, I think that's the one that's on the Four Seasons site. You should actually look at like the one on Nathan's site or mine. It actually, you can see the colors a lot richer, and there was like a lot of things, like a few things that changed in it and blah blah blah, and the music slightly, but ultimately like there was yeah, like he would send me all these tones, you know, and then we just got to it, you know. I would just like I got into Miller Notes, and then I'm like, from everything he's sending me, you know, I'm putting gifs together in movements. I'm giving like lighting references for like the sweet scene, you know, and this was all very quick, you know. This job happened I got brought on like 3 days before the job I had to fly. So it was like I was very much like the last resort on this thing, and I came in a bit blind in the beginning. So we've done several projects together since now with Nathan, but and there's been a lot more like a pre-production phase together. But on this particular job, I mean, I was literally brought in like literally 3 days before like flying to Mallorca, arriving there. Hey, how's it going? You know, and then kind of spent that week, uh, like spend those like 4 days just connecting together and spending time together and not trying to smother the dude, but trying to also like understand him, you know, because I mean he works with some of the biggest actors and on some of the biggest commercials in the world. He's an incredibly talented director, and yeah, so I was just trying to kind of like fit in and figure it all out, but yeah, and then yeah, and then kind of just got to the shooting together, really. Yeah.
I can't believe that's amazing that it was all photos and video shot in one day. You were talking earlier about kind of what did it
Yes.
look like? Can you describe it, the shooting day?
Yeah. Well, I mean, the day before the evening, like, it was quite nice. The rental house like allowed us to just like take the camera gear and kind of just do a little bit of a pre-shoot in that evening. So Nathan and I'm scrambling, dude. I'm like, kind of like, we've got all this gear for this next shoot day, and I'm like building this camera the day before, trying to get it so I can just like go shoulder mode and cruise around. And you know, we're shooting on like a cinema package. It's a relatively like big camera setup, you know, and or heavy for like a one man band, to put it that way, and and I'm trying to sort out like the terror deck so that Nathan can like at least like connect and see the visuals on a monitor, client monitor, you know. And then we're cruising around and we're trying to get these like a few just like that whole cut sequence at the end where like she's jumping off the water, you know, and you see the face and like the dreamy sequence, like all of that was shot that evening before, you know, in the water with her hands on her head. We needed some scenes didn't involve the whole family, you know. They were more like scenes of just like her experience alone, you know, and more like to add to the dream space, you know. So yeah, we shot that the night before, and then went to the shoot day, and shoot day was, we started off with the boat sequence. You see that tracking boat shot in the beginning. We started that, and that was just that wasn't anything funky. I mean, we were just on like a stabilized rig and just shooting like boat to boat, really, which is really fun. And then we got some drone establishes of the boat in that space, which we didn't really end up using too much in the edit, but we got some. Like just some coverage, then smash that out. Then from there, we went to the suite. I think we did that kid running scene where we're kind of like arriving by the staircase. You know, that kind of like establisher of the hotel, that like big jibber. We shot that on the drone. We didn't have like cranes or anything. And and then we kind of ended up in her suite. You know, just because we wanted the light in a certain morning vibe, and that was around 9ish or something, just to get that light perfect. And that was just her writing sequence, you know, and then from the writing sequence, we went down after lighting that. Where did we go? After lighting that, we went to the bar scene, and that was a big setup. The bar scene was like not a massive setup, but just like it was a time-consuming setup, you know. We just a lot of lighting to be set up, a lot of lighting to be blocked out, you know. I mean, I think from a technical point of view, I think and I'll only say this like over the last couple of years, because it definitely wasn't like originally how I used to work. I used to work by probably overlighting, which was not a good. If there's anything I would suggest, it's like decide on what you want to remove before adding anything, you know. And I'd say now 90% of my jobs, I'm actually just like blocking out light. I mean, I just did a job in Antarctica for this company called Silver Sea, this like travel company. It's dropping soonish in like a month or so. And that was an incredible piece. We were like also a very small team, but like the whole thing was just like blocking lights, you know, just like putting gaffer tape over lights, all the spots in the house, you know, like these horrible spots here, which are annoying me a little bit, but like in my house. But you know, it's like the spots and like you're just blocking those, you know. You're trying to like hide them, get them out of people's faces, trying to get the lights more like moody and concentrated. And then being like, where's my source coming from, you know? How am I going to light the faces and the movement? What's the blocking going to be in that space, you know? But like ultimately, what can I remove? And that bar scene was a lot of that. I mean, we just blacked out an entire like 10-meter high windows. I blacked out all the ceiling lights, pretty much only kept all the underlighting, you know. Kind of went in that way. And then after the bar scene, we went to the pool and shot the underwater stuff, and the pool scene in a fish tank. Didn't have like an underwater team or anything like that. And then we shot that evening dinner scene, you know, that evening dinner scene, and then the kids, and then the kids running along the beach, you know, the running scene along the beach. That was kind of the day, really. But yeah, it was a packed day, you know, with like a lot of movement. And just having, I guess, also like a big part of I guess my role and my relationship with producers a lot of the time is like ultimately like time is money, you know, and you have to find a way of like making these things work, and also being real when it's not going to work, you know. And that's a very hard call to make, you know. Be someone who's like saying no to stuff, which I'm terrible at, to be perfectly honest with you. I'm often just trying to squeeze as much as I can in, you know. But ultimately, you've got a team. When you've got a team around you, like a bigger team around you, you really have to like work to those things and think about those things, you know, and figure out how long it's going to take to move from one location to another. Like figure out like like what do I need to pre-light and pre-prep, you know, just to make sure that like when we're done with this next space is ready, you know, and that coordinating my team for that, and obviously your assistant director is there for that as well. But yeah, I mean, I generally like try and stick pretty close to my grips, my lighting, and my camera team, and coordinating them, even myself, you know, just to keep them in the loop. And yeah, like, I mean, a lot of this like being able to squeeze that much into a day also wasn't just like oh, let's just try and see what happens, you know. I've also like I've done a lot of these type of jobs in a way, and I know how to move fast, you know. And it's also like it also comes down to like the type of builds that I make on the camera, the type of lighting I use, the way that I also design the lighting spaces, you know, like I draw up lighting designs for my gaffers. So they know exactly where the light's going to be in every single space, so that if I'm not there at one moment doing something else, they know that the next space needs to look like this, and that's where the lights need to go from my lighting plan. And like they can, like there's an people are independent, you know, they know what's happening without necessarily needing to like ask me every 5 minutes, you know. And I think that's also a huge part of like moving fast on these jobs is like communication, you know, just like what is up here, what do you want, where do you want it, and how do you want it done, you know.
Do you know beforehand the focal length for the lens that you want to use?
Yeah, I mean, we like I said on the tech recce, you know, I'll be like setting up my phone and doing like the cadrage, you know. And cadrage, you know, you set up your lenses, you set up your camera, so you know roughly where you're going to be. But I mean, I think there's like, as much as I say there's like a lot of communication to these spaces, there's also spontaneity, you know. And it's like spontaneity is very important. And when it comes down to lensing, I'm not like stuck on lenses. Like I know by now, to be perfectly honest with you, like I also like, I mean, that's maybe another conversation about lensing, but I often work with the same lenses. I know it's like it's good to change up lenses and work with loads of different lenses, and I have as well. I've done a lot of different jobs with lots of different lenses, but I've actually just found over time that there's a huge amount of value in knowing your set of lenses. There's a lot of value in knowing that set of lens, and when I say knowing that set of lens, like knowing what lenses for portraits, knowing exactly that wide is the right wide for that space, you know. Knowing that like your 35 mil is the one that's going to like flare in this way, and that the 77 is going to have this kind of bokeh, you know. It's like, and I work a lot with for the last like 4 years. I pretty much like non-stop work with the Blackwing lenses.
You can tune those lenses, right? You can tune.
Yeah, you can tune them. Yeah, you can tune them to what you want, you know. And I own a set of them. I bought them just as they came out. I was quite obsessed with them. I've always loved like large formats. I mean, my go-to baby camera is the Arri Mini. Is just like epic. I still think it holds so much weight in today's filmmaking. It's like such a beautiful camera that I mean, just the color science, the grit of it, the just the feel of it. It's such an amazing camera. But I love the large format just because large format just feels like Hasselblad, you know, and Mamiya's, and like I don't know if you ever shot on those like film like 4 or 5 cameras, but they just like when those images come out, the way they bite is just stunning, you know, the fall off, the feel in the space, and large format really holds that, and I love those Blackwings for that reason. But my point about the lenses is just like for me, it's less about like being like, this is the lens for that space like 2 days before you shoot. It's like, definitely frame it up and you have a rough feel, but I'm not like going like, oh, what did I shoot that on the cadrage beforehand, you know. Like I'm getting to the day, and like maybe I'm like, oh, now the lighting's there and maybe it's a bit darker, and we've actually, the blocking's changed, and she's maybe, I'm going to use this other piece, you know. But I generally follow the pretty standard like way of shooting, you know. Establish a scene, get your mids and close-ups, boom, out, you know. And that's how these things work generally, you know. It's like get your wide, show people where they're at so they have context, and then give them the mids and close-ups, details.
Do you have one camera team in the job, or different
Yeah,
setup?
no, we're one team, one camera. Oh,
Wow.
sorry, we're one team, two cameras, actually. No, we're two cameras, but one camera was on the Ronin, and the other one was handheld. So I often work unless I have steady cam ops on the job and stuff like that, which is not that often, to be honest. I'm sometimes I think steady camming is beautiful. But yeah, I often operate the Ronin myself, and we have a Ronin set up. And I'll do like a lot of the movementy shots, like the stabilized stuff off boats, or rigging that to a boat, or like down like very symmetrical corridors, or like wrapping around like a scene with someone running or whatever, like creating that stabilized land is very important, I think, at times, and has its space. I love handheld as well. And often just jumping between that can be quite time consuming when you're working with like new teams in different countries all the time. So I'll often go for like a two camera setup, but I have I have a team. When there's the budget, they just fly everywhere with me, which is very, very cool. And we generally only operate on one camera setup that has like these quick release plates, and you can just go from like handheld to like Ronin in like 2 minutes. Like before anyone's even sneezed, you're like back onto a Ronin.
Yeah, because it can get messy with the wireless transmitters to have to set up different cameras, right? With
Yeah,
on it.
yeah, totally. Yeah, switching the channels over and stuff like that. But yeah, totally. I'm a one camera kind of dude generally, but like sometimes it calls for it. Like honestly, like I think I mean, I'm sure lots of people find this, but like when you move to like when you're moving through different countries for different jobs, and you can't like have your desired team every time, we don't have the luxury of that every time. It's like it's there's that whole communication and language thing I was talking about. You have to like refine that again with your new team, and some teams are more proficient in different things, and some countries also just don't have the things that you need. Sometimes you'll be hiring equipment in like the middle of a fucking desert, that's coming from like a city like Marrakesh, or which actually has like they have amazing film industry there, but like it's actually it's pumping so hard in Africa that it's just like there's hardly anything available. So it's like sometimes you get to with these like 2-3 day shoots, and they're shooting like Star Wars and Gladiator over in the corner, and you're there with your like 2-day like hotel shoot, and they're just like, no, dude, I'm not getting you any of that gear, So then you have to like figure out ways of like making things work. And if you don't have those like all those little tiny little things, the quick release plates, or like your team, or the backpack battery setup, or whatever it is, it's very hard to go from like handheld to Ronin very quickly, Yeah.
For the director's cut, can you just do that for any shoots, or do you ever have to ask clients for approval? Because I think it's a great idea for us to do our own versions for everything.
Yeah, I mean, generally once the piece is out, I mean, I'm not sending that piece like out to like the world afterwards. I mean, maybe in a way I am. I don't know. but I mean, the director's cut is more just like it's will be the director and myself like aligning on it. Like I'm not going and like doing that behind the director's back. Generally, like the director and I, yeah, I mean, 99% of the time, I would say the director and I very much feel the same way. We get to the edit process and we're like, just because of all the branding, like even the one you showed now, like the piece that I have, like doesn't have like the branding. It's also like we've taken stuff out of the mountains. There's not so many houses. It's cleaner. We've done some VFX touch-ups, getting like satellite poles out, but all things that like maybe on the client side wasn't able to be done or whatever, and so we'll go that extra mile just on the side, just to try and make things work, because budget-wise it couldn't on their side or whatever, because that like also the client has a different vision, not necessarily because they don't see the art form that we do. It's more that they've just got a whole nother set of deliverables they need to meet, and it's sometimes I think can take away from like the piece you're trying to tell, and with the director generally we align very closely, and we're like, cool, let's get like a director's cut out of this, and yeah, I mean, dude, at times it's been me, I'll cut that thing up, and make our own little piece, and then I'll talk to my homie who's color grader, who'll help out with this, and my other homie who'll like help out with like VFX, you know, and we'll get to like a really solid space, and like music design comes in, and we're stoked, and like a homie will jump on that, you know, and it'll be this collaborative piece, and we'll get something really solid out of it that will then promote everyone, and everyone's got a piece that we're proud of, you know. Yeah, but generally, like, I mean, the go-tos, you want to like I think the goal is that like you create something that everyone is stoked with, you know, that the client is stoked with, director is stoked with, and we just get one like piece, you know, which happens sometimes, you know. It's rare, but it does happen, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And then we were chatting the other day about kind of some tips you wish you knew or advice for people here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like such an imposter, dude. It's like I'm like I still feel so young in my career, and so fortunate to be where I'm at, you know. And I've got like so many amazing people I still look up to, you know, and it's just like it feels weird me giving tips to people, but it's just like I mean I think I'd probably just come back to maybe what I was saying earlier, just about like um yeah, just like I mean, if you from a DP's perspective, I would say from a DP's perspective, from a creative point, whatever, it's like I think it's like it's really important just to not be scared to have an opinion, and also have an opinion that's wrong, and not get too tied to it, just to figure out like what your voice is in the space, or on the project that you're working on. Yeah, I would say like your relationship with people is the first thing. Your relationship with people is like the first and foremost, you know. I think like no one, like I said, no one wants to work with an asshole, dude. And it's just like I think there's like um people are taking a leap on you and giving you a chance, like hear them out, work with them, and like work together, you know. There's so much power in working together, and I think like sometimes we can be in a world where like people just like are really scared to like share ideas, or they think it's gonna be stolen or something. But like I just don't believe like any idea is stolen. I think it's like I think everything is modified, everything changes. Like there's different versions of new things, you know, like you putting yourself out there and putting something out there, or sharing an idea with someone. If they then use it, it's all about just being like working with that team element, you know, and working together, and yeah, and just trying to find that language altogether, you know. And yeah, I mean, I guess like a couple of things I learned along the way is like I spent about 5 years in the UK for like I kind of left the industry here in South Africa, went to the UK for like 4 or 5 years, and yeah, it's a big industry there, and a strong industry, and a hard one to get into. And I mean, this industry in general is pretty hard to get into, I think. Especially like that, yeah, especially just trying to break out of the like I mean, we're all technically doing content, but I guess it's like we all want to do like better, like pieces that have like hold more value and heartiness and story, you know. And I guess a lot of those like to get those projects, like you really, I think, have to just like you have to do so much personal work, you know. You have to do so much like work that you believe in, you know. None of your jobs are going to change until you're doing the jobs you want to do. And it's like sometimes you just got to take a leap on like shooting something that you are like there's been like 3 or 4 significant pieces that were just completely personal pieces that like led to so much other work for me. And like I lost money on them, and they were super fun, and we were like didn't get much sleep, but we had a lot of fun with the gang, you know. And it was like a team of like 4 of us, you know. We were just like hustling, trying to get these shots, or like hanging out of windows, shooting cars, like just trying to like get more funky stuff, you know. And I think there's like, yeah, if you want those projects, you gotta show people that you can make them. Because unfortunately, like no one, it's quite blindsided, but it's that classic thing of just people are like, if they don't see that you've done something in that world, there's like very little chance that you're gonna get it, you know. And yeah, I think like during those years in the UK, it was like a lot of hard graft, you know, and doing stuff also I didn't want to do, you know, necessarily, but like constantly showing up with like a keen, sick attitude, even though people coming out of the London, like the London train system are just like all bleak and it's like raining outside and it's gray. You just got to like rock up with the gees, we call it in South Africa, you know, it's just like the energy and the keenness and like just like stoked to try and make this project the best you can, because that's the one thing you can do every time is you just can do your best, you know, and sometimes the project's not going to turn out exactly the way you want. I feel like it's taken years for me to even to get to like to get to a point where like every image is the way that I imagined it. You know, even just that simply alone is like you know, we'll go through all like there's like 15 like scenes in the whole piece, and it's just like I see these scenes, and then like by the time we get to like the edits, I'm like, oh god, like what did I do there, or what did I do there, and like maybe out of the 15 there's like 3 of them that are like close to where my mind was, you know. It's like and like it's yeah, I think just like constantly rocking up keen and just try and do your best. Like there's nothing that nothing won't come your way in that sense, you know. I think something I learned in the UK though, in terms of like reaching out to people, was like no one knows you exist. Like no one knows you exist, and there's like I think like we can quite easily be like people who like we put work on Vimeo, on Instagram, and we're like, dude, why is no one seeing this? Or like no one knows you, and no one cares. To be honest, like I think there's just like, yeah, it's just like you've got to reach out and make yourself like visible to people. And when I say that, I mean I had like these spreadsheets of like 15 different columns, you know, and then you go into these columns and there's like 100 contacts per column, and you know I'd put in like the brands I want to work with, and I'd find like who's the person, I'd put the email address down, I'd find their number, I'd be cold calling, I'd do like 15 calls a day sometimes, you know, when I arrived in the UK. I had no work for nearly 8 months when I got there. I didn't get a single job, you know. And you know, just like just cold calling, you know, calling people, dropping emails. Like 99% of people will not respond to you, and maybe that 1% will be like, hey, thanks for reaching out, but you're not good enough. And it's just like, but then there'll be like one person who'll be like, hey, yeah, dude, I know my sister's auntie's cousin who has like this little brand who's like, you know, and then you get a chance, you know, and then you got to make that your best. And it's, yeah, it's not the like luxury brand or job, but it's your in, you know, it's your first in, because that person's going to talk to their cousin, you know, and that person's going to talk to their sister, you know, and that sister's going to be the art director for, or the creative director for fucking Four Seasons, you know, or whatever it is, you know. And I think there's just like, yeah, just to like, nothing's like, I don't think things just come to you. I mean, I think if you're like, there is luck in that sense, but I also think that's definitely like the social media world like promotes that a lot, but I don't think it's the reality of the world, you know. You've really just got to like find the people you want to work with, reach out to them and keep reaching out to them. And then if they don't like what you got, see what they're shooting and then shoot something like that, then reach out to them again. You know, and that's kind of like, I feel like how it's been on my side. And yeah, a lot of those like columns, I used to like label them with like red when it was just like columns and columns of red for a couple of years, you know. And then eventually there was a couple of greens, you know, a couple of greens were keen, you know, people were keen to reach out, and agents were keen, and all that type of jazz, you know. And eventually like work started coming in, you know, and then people know you're around, you know, and then things happen, you know. Yeah, that's probably what I would say.
That's very inspiring. I'm sure everyone here feels the same. So that's so helpful.
Yeah.
How do
Yeah.
how do you see yourself in, what are your goals for the future as a DOP? How do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good question. Do you know, I mean, if I had to be like just dead honest, it's like I think like I personally I thought a lot about that when I was like starting out, you know. I was just always like, oh, fuck, well, this is what I want to do, you know. It's like but as of late, you know, I'm just kind of taking it project by project, personally, and just trying to put my everything into that, because I just find like I obviously have like my future me who I'm working towards, you know, and I'm chasing that man, you know. There's like the 10-year man, or like not even 10-year, maybe just like 2-year, 3-year man that I'm chasing. It's more like that than 10 years. Um, and yeah, and I think that would be more just like understanding more and more, learning more and more, just learning. You know, I spend hours listening to stuff, reading stuff. Like, well, sorry, I lie. I don't read a lot of books, but like I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and sometimes I say it's reading, but I listen to a lot, you know, and I look at a lot. I watch a lot of films, you know. I try and learn as much as I can all the time. But yeah, I'm not necessarily like 10 years from now, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure. Who knows? Maybe I'll be fucking just like having a little bar and just like surfing on a beach, hopefully, something like that.
Good.
You know, but I mean, I love filmmaking. You know, it's a tool. I think all of this thing is like tools, and I do say this pretty often. Is like I think it's like this is my job, and this is my income. You know, this job, and I have to do it to um like to pay for my life and rent and food and blah blah blah, you know. But it's just like it's also my passion, you know. It's like I love it. It's been something I've just like I truly do love this, you know. It's like I will often do projects where I won't make a dime just because I just love it, you know. And I think that's a really important thing, and I'm often just trying to keep that alive, you know. I'm often just trying to go from project to project in like preserving my love for this vibe, and just trying to do my best at it, you know. And every piece is a challenge, you know. It's a commitment of time, you know. Some of these projects are like 3-4 weeks of my life, you know. It's just like so yeah, I mean, it'd be cool to maybe DP like a movie eventually. That would be pretty rad. I'd be really amped to like DP a movie one day. Like and yeah, I've got a few like my own personal projects in the pipeline, and those are really exciting. But yeah, I just want to just keep trying to learn and like just hopefully get a bit better, you know, every time, you know.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to go in Q&A now, so we have some questions already.
Yeah.
Mark asked, are all your hotel jobs big budget, multi-person crew, or is there a range from small to big?
Well, I mean, put it this way, I like the only hotel jobs I've done have been for Four Seasons. I did a couple of like architectural like pieces, like I did like two, maybe like 5-6 years ago, and that was just me and the director. But this like the like this Four Seasons Mallorca one that you're seeing is my first like Four Seasons job. You know, we've done like 3 since then, and we've got another few coming up now. We've got another like 3 or 4 coming up, because it did well, I guess. But yeah, I mean, like these like I think to answer that question, I think like that type of job to like get that like I guess like level of production in a way, with like cast and talent and like the locations there. Like if I was by myself on that job, I don't think at all I would have gotten anywhere close to that. Just because of how much we actually needed to do to the space to get it to where it was, you know, and ultimately, that is the value of like a bigger team, is that you can do a lot more in one day. People are fucking fixing rooms and taking construction stuff out and building tables and artwork and putting curtains in that weren't there and cleaning stuff out to make it feel less cluttered, you know. Like even that bar space, I mean, that bar space looks like there's just a bar there, but there was like tables everywhere. There was tables, chairs, plates, things on the walls. The whole bar had like a huge like tower with like bottles in it and everything. You know, all of that was removed, you know, just to get a cleaner vibe. You know, we decided like we needed to get like, it's often just about clearing. When I say blacking out is the same as like clearing out. You know, often like to get these images that feel stronger, you need like a clean space. You know, same by the pool. The pool had like 150 deck chairs. You know, I can't remove that by myself. You know, well I could, but it just would take me fucking 10 days of shooting. But so yeah. I mean, with these hotel jobs I've been doing lately, it has been bigger teams.
Jonathan asked, I admire how you put emphasis on putting your ego aside and choosing to understand the director and other people's vision above your own. If you were to start over again, would you have done anything differently? What's the best piece of advice you would have given to your younger self?
Yeah, probably that, probably not being too tied to like my visual identity, and just being like I think you have to be in the beginning when it's just your project, like when it's just you shooting like that, it is your visual identity. I mean, it's your choice, you know. But at the same time, it's like at the same time, like this, like coming back to this Four Seasons job, like Nathan's like back mind, you know, was like, what does the Four Seasons need? You know, like what is this film? As much as this is a good film, it's like the film makes people want to go there. So like I think it's also about thinking about that, not being like, oh, what do I want to do at this hotel? It's like it's more like, what do people want to do when they come here? Like, and let me frame it from their perspective. You know, how do I make their experience like stronger, whilst also like telling a beautiful cinematic journey and like taking them on a cinematic journey. You know, and I think like most probably you'd get to those jobs in a, I mean, it's always going to be a bumpy ride, but in a smoother line, in a sense, if you're like, if I was thinking more about like the perspective and not just my perspective, you know, and I think but it's a natural thing to do, you know, when you're starting out and you're like by yourself shooting, it's like you're just trying to figure shit out, you know, it's just like and I think that's like that's the biggest thing, yeah. And maybe not being so hard on yourself. Maybe not being so hard on yourself. Like, just have fun, you know. Just have fun with it. Fuck, it's like it's such a. At the end of the day, we're shooting ads on Instagram. You know, we're not like saving the world here. So it's like I think there's like also value just have fun with it, you know, and just try and make something you're proud of, you know.
Anton asked, although you were brought into this project 3 days before the shoot, typically how long is pre-production process like? How in advance does the team normally work for the creative story and pre-pro?
Well, I mean, the director will be brought in like months in advance, sometimes 2-3 months in advance for commercial projects, and up to a year in advance for like a movie. You know, yeah, and I mean, like on these commercial pieces, I'm often brought in about a month beforehand. I would say maybe 2 weeks, like at the latest. Um, um, yeah, and then I guess on on a movie, I mean, I've second united on like a couple of movies, and it's like that you're brought in maybe yeah, maybe like a month beforehand, I guess, you know. Yeah, it's I guess it really depends. I mean, if you're deep on an actual movie, you'd be brought in like also pretty much like 6 months, maybe a year beforehand. But on a lot of my commercial projects, it's like 2 weeks to a month. Yeah.
So there's a few more questions. Paul's going to be the last question, so let me just go through these quickly. Kim
No,
asked,
no worries, dude. I'm not in a rush.
oh, okay. Kim asked, do you or anyone you know have behind the scenes video that could give a one woman show like me an insight into what the production looks like on a typical shoot? And then a second part question, who are your heroes?
Do I have like a behind the scenes? I mean, I have a few behind the scenes of like images that I could share I'll share with Lauren maybe afterwards of just like some of the sets, you know. Yeah, I can share a few images for sure, you know. Yeah, like once again, it really depends on the production, you know. It's like, for example, that Scotland whiskey commercial I was talking about, which is also on my site, you know, that piece was tiny, you know, that piece was literally just like a couple of scrims, me on like I think I shot the thing on an FX3, and like with those Tribe 7 lenses, you know, small little camera setup on a slider, just me cruising around, you know. But then like you have jobs where you'll have like fucking 4 or 5 different sets being lit at the same time with fucking huge amount of lights and all that type of jazz. It really depends on the project. But yeah, I can certainly share a few, and then my heroes. I mean, my heroes started originally just with like people kind of like around me that were talented in the beginning when I started. You know, like yeah, I mean, there's obviously like the typical like greats, but like I mean, like Deakins, and I love Bradford Young. I love Bradford Young's work. Like he's one of my favorite DPs. But you know, I do love Deakins obviously, and like something I really admire about him is like he actually very much said the whole lens situation that I relate to. You know, he for years only shot on like the master primes, and then before that it was like super speed lands, you know, and it's just like he just stuck with those lenses, you know. He stuck with master primes for so many projects, you know. And like I said, I think there's just a lot of value, and a lot of these projects look very different, you know. Like I find often I'm just trying to like with the lensing side, I'm just trying to like make visuals that like the camera's not distracting you, you know. You're just seeing what like a lot of people want like flares and lots of filters and lots of things going on in front of your camera, you know. Like when you're shooting on a good body, you know, which we have access to now with like cameras like the FX3, you know, like super tiny little body, you know, it's amazing. And the sense is beautiful. Like as soon as you put shit in front of the lens, it's like you're starting to create this like separation between what's going on and the viewer, you know. And so you actually just want like, you want that to dissolve. You want, when the person watching this thing, you want them to be like there. You want them to like feel that they're there. And if you have too much stuff coming up, then that can be quite distracting. And I mean, both of those DPs are really cool. I mean, I also really admire this female DP called Rena Yang, who's from the UK, who I met a couple of times, and she was amazing, you know. And then a few of the guys who like I grew up with, you know, like one of my deepest friends, like Ross Hillier, is a DP and director here in South Africa, who I'm really, really tight with. You know, and also I worked a lot with photographers, you know, like I know Lauren was saying there's a lot of photographers on the group, you know. Like as a DP, like before working with like film directors, you know, like I worked with a lot of photographers, you know, who were becoming directors and like directing video on the side, you know. And like I was doing video for them, you know, and just trying to like push it in that sense as much as I could. But yeah, I mean, like applications like Shot Deck, you know, are so. I don't know if you guys know that app or not, but like Shot Deck is like an incredible. You can write it online, you know, and it has pretty much a repertoire of every film ever made, you know. And yeah, you can just like, you can go and experiment and explore, you know, and it's really good. And I mean, like Rena Yang shot Euphoria season 1, I think, and like you have all of her stuff on there, you know, and that was incredible. You can take references and you can put them into your boards and see how they lit this thing, you know, and like take inspiration from it, you know. Because often, like I find on set, it's so important to be able to like have inspiration around, you know. I'll have my iPad on the magliner, you know, and I'm just like, cool, I love this image and this is what I was thinking here, and then try and get the lighting to there, you know, do your best to try and get to that world and use those references, you know. References are just everything. References are everything. Yeah, it's like you yeah, it's just it's such a good place to learn from.
Anton asks, who's typically pulling all of these teams together? Is it primarily the director or producer or someone else?
Well, a bit of both. So like the director will pull in his like core units, you know, and that could be the AD, the DP, and like his art director, but it could also just be only his DP and everything else is up to the producer. Yeah, I mean, it really, I can't even tell you how much it depends on the director. You have directors who are very loose and easy about like certain things, and then like super strict about other things, you know. And then you'll have some directors who like want their team all the time and will only work with their team, and you have some directors who don't care who the team is, you know. They just like, they kind of like, they have maybe they have such a strong footprint, you know, and they know exactly what they want, and they're so good at communicating that maybe they can work with anyone, you know. And that does happen. But I mean, typically, yeah, I mean, the reason why like Tarantino works with this whole is like family, basically, like all his people all the time, um, is because he knows them, he trusts them, and he knows how they work, you know. So it's like there's so much value in having that family around you, you know. But I mean, I've worked on jobs where like, yeah, producers like bring in the whole team, but it really does come from that world though. Producers and directors, they're bringing the team and the show together, you know. Yeah, like when it breaks down to like the technical crew, so like for example, my department, I'll have a big say in that, you know. Like I have like, I've worked in quite a few countries, and I know a lot of crew around the world, and my agency also has a lot of other DPs in there who work with tons of people all over the world. So we generally like, we know crew from pretty much every country on earth at this point, and we can like always get references from people that we've worked with. My grip team, gaffer team, and like focused like camera team will always kind of be a reference from someone if it's not my team, you know.
And I actually have a question for me. So I'm kind of new to working with DPs. How does it work for the pre-production phase? Like I know for producers, they charge like per day for pre-production. That
Yes.
kind of how it works for DPs as well? Because sometimes it's like back and forth with director. So how does that work?
Yes. So, I mean, once again, it really depends on the project. To be perfectly honest with you, I've geez, for years now. I mean, I haven't been paid for a lot of the pre-production time that I put in, you know. Um, yeah, like I'll sometimes get on some projects like where there's like a lot of calls and like a lot of client meetings, you know, where it's actually like literally like an entire day of them, like that I'll get paid for sure, and my agency will manage that. But yeah, I mean we're in an art form where like it's not like the old days, you know. It's like we're in an art form where maybe like the top tier DPs in the world are getting paid for every single minute that they work. But I think a lot of people on like my lower level, you know, like I think we're just like we're just putting in what we want to get out, you know, and I think that's like um that's more like where I'm coming from. Is just I'm just like, if I don't put in that time, like I'm gonna get to the job and I'm not gonna know what to do. You know, like there's been a significant jump in my work from before spending like 10 days of just like making boards and looking for research and finding visual inspiration and communicating with director, you know, like and doing a project versus like me just rocking up and being like, cool, let's shoot that, figure out that maybe that works, maybe it doesn't, you know. Like the fact that I have nearly the entire edit put out in front of me and the director kind of like agrees with it and is seeing the same thing goes miles in the final project, you know. And I mean, maybe one day I'll be maybe one day I'll be a DP gets paid for every hour I work, but like once again, it comes down to the thing like, do you love what you do, you know? And I get paid for my travel days, you know, I get paid for all the days on the production and on the job, and I really feel like pretty fortunate for that, you know. I don't come from like a big like rich family, so it's like my jam is like I feel pretty fucking lucky and fortunate to even just be where I am. To be honest, like I was like just shooting people skating and cruising around in the beginning. I didn't like think this was going to turn into anything that it has. So, yeah, I feel pretty fortunate in that sense, and I feel like I put in the energy I want to get out. You know, if I really care about the piece, which I don't really get into projects that don't. So if I really care about the piece, I'm gonna go like above and beyond to make sure that it's epic if I can. You know, I'll do my best to do so. Yeah.
Same. Avi asked, I love the whole piece. Congratulations. I would like to know how the underwater scene in the pool was done. I guess with a dedicated water housing for the Ari. I see there are some backlighting lights. Was there artificial lights used for that?
Hmm. So no, the entire thing was the lighting wise, there was a big like bounce board. So we had like a 12 by 12 bounce behind, and it was just natural light bouncing from behind straight into the pool. I shot like underwater stuff. I just generally you shoot during high light, so like when the sun is at its highest, you know. It just looks better. It gets very murky underwater otherwise. Um, so sun was super high, and all of those like fractures you see over her body in the shot, you know, that was all just the sunlight coming straight through the water, and it does look the best at highlight. um the bounce is more just kind of like a backlight. I don't even know if you really felt it, to be honest. And then we had like there was did we actually end up putting the black in? I don't think we did. I don't think we did, but normally I'd put like black into the water on the camera side just to create contrast from camera side. And then there was no underwater housing. Like it was a like the Four Seasons that we did in Mallorca was a last minute, way lower budget job than like most. There wasn't budget for like an underwater camera or an underwater housing for the Ari. So we just shot it in a fish tank. You can rent them from most rental companies. They're literally the size of a fish tank with like big metal handles on the side and a piece of glass in the front, and you can put the camera dry straight into there, with a couple of sandbags, and you're kind of submerged maybe like that much under the water, and you're like holding this big tank like this, and trying to get something strong, and then like lensing it up accurately, and then we just got a few shots shooting. We were shooting on this particular job, Mallorca. We shot on the Alexa Mini, I just got a really nice, like slightly like I didn't want to see like the pool. The pool like was quite like these blue tiles, and it's like a little bit too much blue on blue. So I try to make a bit of like neg in the back, and then a longer lens to try and like separate her from all of it. And yeah, got that image out of it. Yeah.
Okay, so Geomorph asked, the cinematography in Severance caught my eye. Have you had a chance to watch it? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I watched a couple of episodes of Severance. I haven't gotten deeply into it personally, but I have seen like the cinematography in it, and a few shots from it. And it looks amazing. It looks really, really well done. Yeah, like what do I think of it? My personal opinion on like just filmmaking in general, I enjoy it's interesting. I really enjoy the technical side of like having to like figure out how to like make the camera move in those ways and cruise around, and using those like robo arms, and doing a lot of wacky moves with the camera, which is really cool. And I mean, there's some films that works really well, and like Everything Everywhere All at Once, that was like for me an incredible piece, but in the same vein, in that film, the camera's not often doing crazy actually things. There's a lot of crazy things happening in front of the camera, and there's a difference for me. Like in Severance, there's a lot of very big like camera moves, which for me makes me very aware of the camera, and I'm often trying to make people less aware of the camera. So I kind of like, I don't want people to like, genuine with my films. I'm trying not to. I'm trying not to like. I don't want people to like watch the film and go, "Oh wow, the cinematography is great." I want them to watch the film and go, "Wow, the film was great. Like everything worked together. There was nothing that was like noticeable. There wasn't like the camera work didn't stand out, the lighting didn't stand out, the talent didn't stand out, the colors of like the architecture or the art design didn't stand out. Like it all cohesively worked beautifully together, and it was just an amazing experience. Because I find that to be a little bit less distracting. And I find as of late in the last like couple of years, I'm just trying to be less distracting if I can.
So we have just two more left. Paul said, before I was a full-time photographer, I worked for Four Seasons for 6 years in various hospitality positions. Your video aced it. Glad they got you on for more work. Thanks for sharing.
Oh, thanks. That's super kind. No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Thank you.
So we have a last question here. PJ asked, what challenges specific to architecture and interior design did you find when filming on your Four Seasons piece? Typically, our focus is to highlight the design work the best way possible. Was this something you considered, or did you focus on the narrative?
So, I mean, there was a bit of a challenge in this piece. The hotel was under construction. So we were limited in the amount of spaces we could shoot in. I personally think that the Mallorca edit is missing a lot of the architecture. Like we showed the outside of the hotel a lot, and we showed like that room. But if you think about it, even in that room, like you can't just see the outside. You don't really see too much inside. And we were kind of forced into that just because of the fact that like it was under construction under that time. So that ended up being the focus, like our direction that we took, like for example, we're shooting the Four Seasons in Madrid now, and that's way more about the hotel, we're shooting the staircases and the interiors, and there's a lot more like built into the story in that sense. Whereas Mallorca was like, we made it more about the people and more about the story in this one, not only just because obviously that resonates more with people, but also just because the actual just fact that the hotel is under construction. I think we would have included more like architectural pieces if it wasn't. And then in terms of like the difficulty of shooting architecture, I think it's like, yeah, like lensing is everything, like in those spaces, and finding the symmetry and the cleanliness. You know, I think one of the biggest things in these hotels is they actually look like they look pretty bad, like off the bat. And like I was saying earlier, it's like it just, I mean, the lighting's all top down. There's like tons of shit all over the place, you know, and it's like it's interesting. It's like it looks clean to the eye when you rock up, but to the camera it looks busy, you know, because you're focused, you know, like with the you've lensed the space, you know, so you're seeing the space through this very like small funnel, and all of a sudden all of these details become very messy, you know. So it's like often I just think it's about like removing all of it. So I think in these architectural spaces, like I think it's so important to think about what can I remove from the space that will clean it up and simplify it and make it like make the image like less busy to the mind, you know. Ultimately you don't want someone to look at the space and get like all fumbled up, like what the fuck am I looking at? You want them to like know immediately what they're looking at. And you can do that obviously through lighting and like darker, moodier spaces and blah, but it's often just about like removing so much, so it's simple. Like that shot of her walking outside, you know, where the curtains are bellowing and you just see those pillars, you know. We removed everything from that space, you know. There was like chairs and tables, and there's a fucking bath on the right, like, and it's cool and it's fun when you're like staying there, but it looks terrible on camera. So I would say like one of the most important things is like choose architect that looks really good in there, or like what architectural elements are looking good, and then how do you highlight that without being distracted about all the other elements, you know. And often it's by removing things.
Yeah. Oh, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. I feel so inspired.
Yeah.
Sure everyone here does too. So really appreciate everything.
Yeah. No, thank you. Thanks for having me on board, guys. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining.
Thank you.
Bye.
Peace out. Cheers, guys.